All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, thank you for joining us today. Very glad to be in this presentation to receive some more information about Phoenix College and especially kind of hear about the student experience, which is oftentimes something that's so interesting to our MESA participants and continues to be interesting to those of us that are professionals here in the field of higher education as well. With that short message, I just want to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Nicole Spencer from Phoenix
Hi.
College.
Thank you. So I'm Nicole Spencer. I'm formerly the STEAM coordinator at Phoenix College for the last couple years, supporting students in STEM and STEAM disciplines. And now we have been awarded a Title V grant to support MESA at the community college. So I will be helping manage that program. So that's a big win for the college. Thank you. And so thank you to the Phoenix College students that are here with us today, sharing just your kind of journey in STEM and your college experience. And I think that you will be very motivating for our MESA students to hear from, because you are, you have amazing journeys that you've been on and great stories to tell. So with that said, what we'll do is just a quick introduction. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself as far as what your major is. And it'd be interesting to know what middle and high school you attended, and what is your major or program at PC. So I'll just go off of my screen. I'm not sure the order everybody else sees. So if we can start with Gabriella.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabriela Hernandez. I'm in my final semester studying sustainability. I'll be transferring over to ASU New College in the fall to do, environmental science. I went to Magnet Traditional Middle School, Metro Tech High School. Did I covered all the bases?
You did, you did. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Max, if you could share.
Hi, I'm Max Mudd. I'm a computer science major. I started at Phoenix College and I'm currently positioned to go to ASU. I actually went to a middle school in Hawaii called St. Louis, and I graduated from high school in Las Vegas at Palo Verde High School. I think that's it, right?
Yep, that's good. Thank you. And Kathy.
Hi everyone, my name is Kathy. I currently attend ASU West. I'm graduating this semester with my BS in biology and a certificate in evolutionary medicine. Um, I actually attended prior to ASU PC and finished with an associate in science. What else? Oh, I didn't go to school for middle or high school here because I was going to school in the Philippines, but we didn't have any middle school, so I attended high school pretty early, finished early, and then didn't know yet what to do. So I took a biology class and figured out I like biology.
Awesome. Thank you. So, well, that kind of, starts us off with our first question is what really got you interested in STEM? So, Kathy, I'll let you kind of start with that. Was it that biology course that told you I am a STEM student and this is the career field I want to get into?
Yeah, so my mom used to tell me I was a very curious child. I asked questions about everything. Why is the sky blue? Why do stars sparkle? Do they really sparkle? Why this and why that? And she would always I know she wanted to prosper the curiosity, but I think she was annoyed most of the time because they would just ask questions upon questions. And I think in high school I really uh, learned that I love science because I loved research. I did a lot of research projects, a lot of instead of group projects, I would love to, work on stuff myself. And I joined science club, and I just knew that I loved science, specifically biology. I didn't know that I wanted to major in it or wanted to make a career out of it. I actually was going in school thinking I would go into psychology. But then, yeah, after I took that biology class with Anna, I realized that, this is actually something that I could look into and actually build a career upon.
Awesome, thank you. And what about you, Max? What got you interested in STEM?
From a young age, I was really into, video games and computers, and I guess it slowly grew from there as a lot of my hobbies were oriented in that direction. And there were some things I had to learn to do on my own, and I found it really enjoyable. There were a lot of things I wanted to learn about how to take care of my computer, how to build one, you know, get the best computer game, parts, everything. And um, it kind of took off from there. I too was not initially a computer science student. I actually wanted to be in the music industry doing audio engineering. And I kind of just, thought about what I was really experienced with the most in my life, and it was kind of that. And so I gave it a try, and I really fell in love with it. And it's been great ever since.
Great. And Gabriella, what about you?
My journey into STEM wasn't a linear path, kind of similar to Max. I went into ASU with like a full ride scholarship to go into graphic design, and I like stuck through it for a year. And I was pretty miserable throughout the whole thing. Metro Tech is a vocational school, so I was 2 years like finishing high school. I was already 2 years into graphic design. Then plus my time at ASU, I was 3 years into graphic design, and I was like just already very I knew that I wasn't engaged enough in my own material because on my off time I was already like reading research articles and knowing that I wanted more. I was constantly reading like new like science magazines and things like that. So I knew that I wanted to be part of the scientific community, but it was lack of confidence on whether I was worthy of that. Because when you're in like high school and middle school, you're like a big fish in a small pond, right? Top of the class, graduated top 10%. I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally smarter than anyone else here. But then when you get to college, all of a sudden, you are absolutely not that. Like you're absolutely not the smartest at all, and it shouldn't matter. And I told myself grades didn't matter. But then when it actually comes time to participating in the scientific community, I was like, what if I'm not good enough to do that? So it took me a while to accept my own decision on whether or not I could join STEM careers. So yeah, it was a confidence thing, but I'm very, very glad that I did because this path is definitely the one for me. Taking my classes now, I'm not just doing the binge and purge thing. I'm not just, taking tests to ace them and then forgetting everything. I'm like genuinely learning my material. So yes, very happy here in sustainability.
That's awesome. That's a great story. And actually kind of ties into my next question. How would you describe, especially with you formerly being in graphic design, how is being a STEM student different than being an other type of major that's not STEM related in college?
Oh, everything is definitely, it's like holistic learning, right? There's more interconnected learning. You have to tie in all of your lessons into your like class projects, your homework, and everything. So if I'm studying biology, I'm still tying in statistics and math and chemistry and physics in every biology lesson. So if you're studying like I don't know, like thermodynamics, you're still like, oh yeah, I learned that in like stats. Like I remember like this specific one lesson. So there's definitely a lot of memory recall and everything applies to real life. Like there's not a single moment where I'm like, oh, I just wasted a whole week learning that for nothing, right? So it feels really good. It's very fulfilling.
So, um, sorry, Kathy, did you have something to add?
No, I was just kind of tying it in, yeah, how everything really is tied together in the STEM field. It's not like you're taking a class and thinking, when am I ever going to use this? You're using everything that you're learning. And you come to realize that even as you go up in upper division classes.
Awesome. So I'll open this next question up to anybody that wants to answer this. How would you describe how how different college is compared to high school, and what tips or advice would you have to students getting started?
I'll answer that first. So one of the biggest differences for me is that, in high school, there seems to be like a little bit more of accountability on, an instructor's end to make sure that you're keeping up with your work. But college is more of like a voluntary thing. So uh, at least from my experience, it's, if I need help, I have to, at least let it be known to my instructors. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that it stresses accountability a little more. And that's kind of what life in general is about. Working in a career, nobody's going to do things for you. It's about, stepping up to the plate and making sure that you're taking care of the things that need to be taken care of. One of the great things about high school, at least for me, or college versus high school, is that um, high school is more entering that world where I get to study the things that interest me and that I'm going to use in my professional career. Whereas high school, it's like this, general sort of coursework that puts you up to that position. So, um, each semester that I got closer to the next level, I knew that, I was going to specialize more and more. And so it's a little more freeing. The environment's a little bit, it's very laid back. I really appreciate college a lot more, and high school is great too, but college is going to be a little bit different. And um, I would just suggest that you make the most of it and don't be afraid to ever ask for help.
Yeah, it's definitely letting go of the stigma that asking for help is a weakness, right? You're exercising a skill, and that skill is asking for help. Like I know that I still have to give myself like a little pep talk before sending an email, even to you, Nicole, though I consider you a great friend and resource, I'm still like, okay, and then I type out that email. That is a personal problem. It's not. But it's that stigma where, and I think especially for students who are going into STEM, I think it's like a personality type where, and let's just admit it, it's a lot of people who are in like the higher grade, like castes, where they're like, oh, I don't need help. Like, oh, I probably didn't even need to study, There, there's like a lot of ego that goes into it. And I think that we just need to like let that go. Just toss that aside, ask for help. It is a skill to be exercised and like a muscle that needs building.
Awesome, good advice.
I think that's awesome, Gabriella, that you mentioned that, because I agree, totally agree. If I were to tell my high school self, I would tell her to focus on the learning process and not so much trying to be a straight A student, right? I mean, I was an average student in high school. I never really found my interest in anything. I never really knew what I really wanted to do. So I kind of just took classes because I needed to take classes. But I would definitely tell high school students to think of high school as a time for you to learn of what you like learn your interest. And even if you're not interested in something, still try to continue to learn that and not so much focus on if you're going to get an A or not, because this is the time to really, you're in the stage where you could fail and it's okay. um, and even in college, you could still fail and it's okay. But I think there's this stigma with STEM that you have to be straight A student, or you have to be really, really smart. And it's not like that. It's not like that at all. We're all really struggling. We all have our deficits. I'm not so good at math, but in biology we have math. uh, and some of my chemistry friends hate biology, but they still have to take the class. So it's not something that, it's something to really think about, that high school is really a time to, like you said, build that muscle memory, or trying to learn new things, and in a very safe place. So that's what I think I would say. It's, you don't have to be excellent or be a great student, even as a STEM student. Just continue what you're doing and try to prosper or foster that learning.
That's good advice. Good advice. So my next question, again, I'll allow, anybody can answer this. Why should a student consider Phoenix College or any community college in general prior to university?
I'll go ahead. I jumped right into university straight out of high school, and I was like, can handle it, totally fine. Um, when I went right in, like the advisors didn't have my best interests in mind. I don't know how their system works, but with placement tests, I like placed in to higher classes than I think was right for someone right out of high school, right? Like my major map, I was going into graphic design. There was no reason to put me into calculus for engineers, but they did it anyway. And and I obviously failed it because there was, why was I there? Right. So it just, community college, there's a closer community. You build relationships. Like the classes are smaller. There's more people looking out for you. Uh, you just see more like-minded people out there, and there's just, it's easier to find yourself without all this pressure, and you're not lost in like such large numbers. And I know that there's branches at ASU where the campus is smaller, but really recommend community college. Just as someone who like took the deep dive into ice cold waters, like really, really recommend community college.
Let's see. And what about as far as any of the community college programs or clubs, extracurriculars? What have you all participated in, and how has it helped you in your college experience?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I would just like to say though that if you're considering going straight into a four-year university, kind of really think about why you're really considering it. I mean, if you have a scholarship in line, that's great. But like my niece who's starting at NAU, she actually thought of maybe staying behind, and just staying behind and staying at home and just going through that 2 year at a community college, because she's noticed that, with me, I was also the same way as Gabriela. I originally was going to go straight to ASU, and was advised that maybe try to look at community college to save money. And I'm really glad because PC has all these amazing programs. When I was at PC, I got into the train scholarship and was able to not be so financially burdened on thinking about, oh, how am I going to pay for school, because it was covered, tuition was covered, and I, with that, even tuition being covered, I got so many experience with research and working in a lab that now I could apply for internships and say I have this experience and I've gained these skills at a cost that wasn't really that much because it was already provided for me. I didn't have to go really searching for it, like most students do, who actually knock on professor's lab and have to ask if they could work in their lab. So PC just gives this it's a great place because it prospers that community, but then it works kind of, I like to compare it really at a university level because we have so many great faculty and staff, and these people have done so many great things in their fields, and you get to learn from them. And aside from that, the other programs that are offered, which Max will definitely talk about because he's done so many great things. But I think PC or attending any community college is great because there's not that pressure really that you're dealing with in a four-year university of competitiveness. And that competitiveness is sadly really toxic. And I know it's great to be competitive, but there should also be a very healthy way of doing it. And I think at a community college that happens.
I definitely agree with that. And the the thing about Phoenix College that I really appreciated was that, you know, they don't really have to, but I was always reminded through posters, emails, instructors, you know, mentors and such that these opportunities are coming up, and here's a deadline. Here's like a scholarship you can apply for. Here's some activity you can apply for, and finding scholarships is it's very straightforward. There's things like Academic Works, and you can apply there, and you have like one application that can apply to, probably hundreds of different scholarships in the state. There's programs like Train as well, where you get to it's that bridge between, working in like a college laboratory versus a job versus, in the in between there. It's like you kind of get to start and understand what it's like to do that and gain real world experience. For me, with STEM, I really wanted to get, into the sort of mindset of living that lifestyle and the culture. And so I joined the robotics club. And, even though I couldn't make it every single time, I would still like to join and see where I could help out and contribute. The biggest one for me was a high altitude ballooning program sponsored by NASA. And I did that. We're actually doing our last launch coming up soon. But since I started there, things have really opened up for me. I started to actually be able to apply what I'm learning and trying to do with my career to a real world experience where there, be consequences. Like, we have to make this balloon thing work or else it doesn't fly. And it taught me a lot about where I can apply my, computer science skills, not to just making, apps or anything, but like working with embedded systems, which are like, things in a phone or like electronics you can't really see. Like they're, consumer electronics, they're the stuff that's inside of them. And from there, basically doing all those things really stacked my resume to stand out, probably among a lot of other applicants who just decide to go to school and don't really, or just think that they can just do their homework and get that really cool job that they want. Sometimes you really got to show that you're interested in your field because everybody's applying for that job. And yeah, doing, the types of programs and stuff at Phoenix College, it got me an internship with NASA. I work for Marshall Space Flight Center right now doing remote programming work. And it's been wonderful. I can't thank Phoenix College enough. It's, changed everything in my life for me. So I'm very happy to, very grateful to them forever. Yeah.
Congratulations, Max.
That is awesome. I love hearing all of your success stories. And the programs that you've been involved in throughout your college experience, how have they changed, or how do you remain involved due to COVID? Like, how has your college life changed? How has academics and then your involvement in STEM just changed this past year? You're sticking with it, so I'd like to hear your advice with that, and what your experience has been like.
I think it would be much the same for any high school or middle school students that are also here. It's, it's the routine of like Zoom, WebEx, group chats, Google collaborations, Jamboards, things like that. We're lucky to be in this age where there's plenty of platforms for us. I actually I'm like an SSS, a TA. I like to tease Dr. Marfai about that because he's like, you're not a TA, you don't grade. And I'm like, I'm your TA, Dr. Marfai, just get over it. But yeah, so I am Dr. Marfai's TA, but I'm also Dr. Ortiz's TA for a biology class, environmental biology. And we're lucky enough to be able to do field trips. We did one to the botanical gardens. Next week, we get to go to the zoo. And then in a few weeks, we get to go to the Rio Salado Restoration Center. And it's like, we have to adhere to COVID standards, limited times, everyone goes in at certain times. But it's really interesting and weird to see people during this pandemic. But aside from that, it's like those remote, sorry, remote platforms, taking care to like reach out, try to build community through like online forms. But it might be a consequence of our generation. I don't find that awkward at all. Like, I don't find it weird to communicate with people through like this online platform at all. And I don't know if this is like I'm an outlier, but I like it. I like this messaging. I like, private messaging while Dr. Marfai is like lecturing. He's like trying to give a lesson and I'm like over here like, hey, like messing around while he's like trying to teach stats. And sometimes it actually distracts from his lesson. But I'm like, we have to keep the students awake. It's a 8 a.m. stats class. It's hard. Last semester, the students were dead. And I was like, you know what, this semester, I'm just going to mess around. I learned my lesson and it's great. They're more happy. But, it could be the introvert in me or it could be the Gen Z border. But I genuinely like this. I'm not happy for the pandemic, but I genuinely like this online platform. So this could be very different from what the other responses will be.
I'm glad that you have a really positive experience. I like to see both sides. I mean, there is very positive experiences because now we're able to engage with online students or, I like this semester, I joined a few clubs that were, because they're all virtual, that I've met people from all over the continent. Like someone from New York who's really great in her field. Now she's actually graduating with her forensic psychology degree. And so I think this online platform really opens up so many new opportunities and possibilities of not just thinking about your area, because now you can connect with people everywhere. But then there's also the downfall of it because, I very much miss lab. I was actually, when the pandemic started, I was taking an anatomy class and I never really got to, gain skills with the cadaver, so there's some downfalls to it because now with everything being online, you kind of lose that hands-on experience, but teachers and professors, they're great at finding alternatives. I think the one thing that I can gain from this whole virtual platform is that it really gives you a time to kind of just step back and see the bigger picture and not so get caught up on the busy schedule. Because that used to be me. I used to be, okay, I have to be in the lab from 8 a.m. to 12 to make up my hours. And then right after lab, I'm going to go to TA in Anna's bio lab. And then right after that, I have a class at this. And then right after that, I have that. And then also accounting, traveling in between. But now I get to do, I mean, I'm not a TA anymore, but I get to do so many things in my day because it's online. I don't have to worry about traveling. And same with research, like everything is online. And it's really, really, really great because I don't have to be burnt out while doing it. So I think that's one thing.
So there's certainly been some advantages. Well, I know we are close on time. Rudy, do we need to go back to the main room?
It does look like they're gonna send us back to the main room. I thought I might try to get a group picture if that's okay, because awesome to have the Phoenix group here and just to document the session as well. So let me, for some reason, I've got something else coming up on my screen real quick. Let me put that away and then I'm going to take a really quick group picture here of everybody. All right, everybody looking at their cameras, smiling. 1, 2, cheese. There we go. Awesome.
All right.
Great. Again, thank you, everybody. Great sharing of your experiences. And it's just so exciting to have Phoenix College as a partner. Starting up the community college program, great Title V grant opportunity. It's just exciting times to know that this is going to be a new kind of chapter for Arizona MESA, and to know that you all are leading it, both with Frank and Nicole, and also with